Hi, my name is Carlyn Rosenblum and I'm going to be giving you a grocery store tour today. And today's topic is hidden sources of added sugar. Did you all know that Americans currently consume 3 times more than the recommended amount of added sugar? And 75% of all packaged food products contain added sugar. So while you may think you are making healthier choices, there could be added sugar that's lurking in your diet. Added sugar has been shown to lead to negative health effects such as obesity, liver disease, and type 2 diabetes. So it's really important that when we're buying foods, we're making informed decisions. So we're going to start off in the produce section. There is a difference between natural sugars and added sugars, and I think that's important to discuss first. So natural sugars are found in fruit, such as fructose, and also dairy, such as lactose. Whereas added sugars are sugars that are not found naturally in the foods, but are added during processing. So if you look at the produce section, fruit, like I said, is a source of natural sugar. And so that doesn't necessarily have the same type of negative health impacts on our body, because fruit also contains fiber and antioxidants and other micronutrients that help to lessen the blow of the sugar in your body. So, you might think that if you're drinking fruit juice or dried fruit, that's the same as eating a piece of fruit. But those are very easy mistakes that you could be making in your diet that could really quickly increase the amount of sugar that you consume. So if you take a look at this apple cider and you think about how much sugar is in a glass of the apple cider juice versus the amount of apples you would have to eat to get that same amount of sugar, you would easily fill up, because like I said, there's a lot of fiber in the apple versus when you're just drinking the juice. So your best bet in terms of cutting down sugar is to just eat the fresh fruit over drinking fruit juice or dried fruit. Alright, follow me. We're going to move on to our next section of the grocery store, beverages. So beverages are the largest source of added sugar in our diet. And you might be thinking you're making healthier choices, you're cutting down on soda, but a lot of beverages such as iced tea and juice, like I mentioned before, contain added sugar. So your best bet when drinking beverages is to just stick to plain water, and you can add fresh fruit slices or mint, basil to add a little bit of flavor. You can also take your favorite type of juice and water it down with a little bit of water so that you're not consuming as much sugar. Alright, moving along, our next section that we're going to discuss will be the condiments. So many people assume that sugar is found in only sweet foods, but in fact, a lot of savory foods also contain added sugar. And it can easily increase the amount that you're consuming in your diet. So pasta sauce is a perfect example of a food that you would assume to be savory, but it actually can contain a lot of sugar. So if you look at this jar of tomato sauce, it actually contains 12 grams of sugar in a half a cup serving. Other condiments and sauces that commonly contain sugar include ketchup, barbecue sauce, and a lot of low-fat salad dressings, because when you take out the fat, they have to add in sugar to replace it. So it's really important that when you're buying these ingredients, you're looking at the sugar and making sure that it contains a low amount, optimally less than 5 grams per serving. All right, moving along. Continuing with our tour of the grocery store, our next section will be so many people assume that oatmeal is an extremely healthy food, and it is. It contains a ton of fiber and nutrients. However, if you're consuming oatmeal that is flavored, it may contain a lot of added sugar. So really your best bet is to buy just plain oatmeal with no flavor and add your own toppings such as fruit and nuts, but that can really decrease the amount of added sugar that you consume in the morning. Granola is another example of a food that you assume to be healthy, but it can also contain a lot of added sugar. So your best bet is to really be diligent about comparing different brands and seeing which one has the least amount of sugar. And some brands, for example, will even advertise on the front 33% less sugar. So you really want to be aware and looking for words like this on your packaging. All right, our next section will be dairy. So yogurt is a very healthy food, and many low-fat yogurts, however, contain a lot of added sugar, especially the fruit-flavored yogurts. So I know they taste delicious, but the best bet is to actually just buy the plain yogurt, such as this, and add your own fruit toppings and nuts, whatever you enjoy in your yogurt. Additionally, non-dairy milk substitutes have become extremely popular. So you see here a wide variety of non-dairy milk. And these are great for people who love milk but unfortunately cannot consume dairy. However, many of the flavored options contain as much as like 18 grams of added sugar, which is, you know, a fairly significant amount. It's almost as much as in a candy bar. So you really want to be conscious when you're buying these products and looking for either reduced sugar or the unsweetened varieties. Alright, so now that we've discussed common places for hidden sugar to be found in foods, I think it's really important to take a deeper look at tips for you all at home to reduce your sugar intake. So the most important thing I think to first discuss is the amount of added sugar that should be in your diet. So it's currently recommended that men consume about 150 calories or 9 teaspoons of added sugar or less. And for women, it's 100 calories or about 6 teaspoons or less. And there are 4 grams in 1 teaspoon of sugar. So I think in terms of browsing for products at the grocery store, the first thing you should do is look for the total amount of sugar in a product. So for example, I picked up these 2 granolas because I want to buy a granola for breakfast. So in looking at the amount of sugar, you see that this one says 3 grams, whereas the other says 16. 16. The FDA actually recently changed their labeling, so over the next 2 years, packages will contain a separate line that will designate the amount of added sugar, that is actually in the food. So for these, they just list the total sugars, but like I said, over the next 2 years, there'll be a new line added underneath that amount that will say total added sugar. So after you check the amount of sugar, you can clearly tell that this is the healthier product. The next step is to look at the ingredients. Like I mentioned, there are over 61 names for added sugar that many people aren't aware. Oh, okay, it doesn't say sugar, but there are other aliases for sugar that you might not be aware of. So for example, dried cane syrup is another name for sugar. Brown rice syrup is another name for sugar. Molasses also counts as a sugar. Other examples are dextrose, fructose, honey, malt syrup, high fructose corn syrup, just to name a few. So you really want to be aware when you're looking at the ingredients that you note not only sugar, but its many common names. So the other thing to look at is where sugar falls on the ingredient list. So items that are near the front are in the highest amount of the ingredients, whereas items that are towards the end of the list are the minor amount of the ingredients. So those are the two biggest things you can do to be aware of the amount of sugar in a product. Other tips at home that you can do to just reduce your sugar intake, like I mentioned before, is buying the unsweetened varieties of yogurt, oatmeal, non-dairy milks, and flavoring them yourself with your own fruits, spices, and other toppings. Additionally, reduce your amount of sugar-sweetened beverages by drinking water infused with fruits and herbs and spices, or watering down your juice. And lastly, I think it's best to mention that this should not all be done at once. It's really important to make gradual changes over time so that you can allow your taste buds to adjust to a lower sugar diet and really make lifelong sustainable changes. So thanks again for joining me. I hope you all learned a little bit about ways to reduce added sugar in your diet, common sources of added sugar, where they are hiding, common names, and also ways to reduce the sugar. All right, I will see you on our next tour.